Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, today we're going to talk about Biden's request for an extension because it prompted some questions, and they're good questions. I want to answer them. However, I want to make something very clear before I do. Nothing I'm about to say changes the reality that the United States needs to leave as soon as possible. The second another stabilizing force shows up, we need to be gone. Nothing I'm about to say changes that. I want that to be very clear. I will probably repeat that later. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, the Biden administration has kind of put in a request to extend the withdrawal date to get out of Afghanistan. I do not believe it is necessary to extend the date. I don't think it's necessary. The countries that appear to be willing to step in and take over the stabilizing force role, they're professional militaries. They can move the troops quickly. To their credit, it doesn't seem that the Biden administration believes it is necessary either, just that it would be easier. One of the public statements kind of said that, even if we get the extension, we're still hoping to be out by the current withdrawal date. So it seems like they're more interested in getting the replacement force in and letting them settle in before the U.S. leaves. I don't think that's necessary. And I don't think that's necessary because one of the questions is, would this just be us saying we're staying and more of the same? No. This is a request that was put into the national government and to the opposition. The opposition did not reject it out of hand, at least not as of time of filming. The fact that they didn't just say no immediately leads me to believe they may be more interested in peace. They may have realized that the situation on the ground has changed a lot. And if they are more interested in peace, they are less likely to test the new stabilizing force, test those countries. It seems likely that the opposition has looked at the current political landscape and realized that that power vacuum that will occur if the U.S. withdraws before a new force arrives, it may not benefit them necessarily. 2003? Oh yeah, that would have been entirely in their favor. Not anymore. It would be pretty evenly matched. That's good news because it's more likely to bring them to the table. It's bad news because if fighting does happen, it's going to be more fierce, and that's bad news for the average civilian. But given the fact that they didn't reject it out of hand, that really, it seems like they may be willing to do the fighting in a conference room rather than on the battlefield. And that's the best news that's come out of Afghanistan in a long time. Okay, so even though we won't leave by the current deadline, can we just withdraw down to a token force and get rid of the occupying army? Okay, so it's not decided that this is going to happen yet. The other part of this that should probably be pointed out is that we already are at a token force. The United States has about 2,500 troops in Afghanistan. That's a token force. The common perception, the common image that people have of what's going on in Afghanistan, that doesn't really match the reality anymore. It's no longer, troops all over the country running patrols and going into villages, and that's really not occurring very much anymore. We have 2,500 troops there. That is a token stabilizing force. To put it in perspective, I could point to a dozen countries that are at peace, that have more than 2,500 U.S. troops in them. And I'm not talking about like the obvious ones like Germany or Japan or South Korea. We have more troops in Spain than we have in Afghanistan. I think the most poignant example for people who are completely unfamiliar with how many troops it takes to do something, we have more troops currently guarding the U.S. Capitol than we have in the entire country of Afghanistan. We already are at a token force. Does that mean that it is unimportant to remove that token force? Absolutely not. We need to get out. Absolutely. The reality is that even though what was happening isn't happening anymore, it's the same uniform that is present. Any country that would be willing to step into that role would probably do a better job, simply because of that fact. The animosity that exists among some groups within Afghanistan directed towards American troops wouldn't be there, because the new troops, they didn't occupy the country. If you are looking at this from the perspective of what's best for Afghanistan, in the sense of what is going to stop conflict, what is going to save the most lives, you're not looking at it through national ego, you're not looking at it through economic interests. The best course is to get the U.S. out at the absolute soonest opportunity. The second the new stabilizing force arrives, we need to leave. And it does appear that there are a couple of countries that are willing to step up, that are regional players, that are local, that are willing to step up and provide that assistance. So, what does all this mean? We still need to leave. I don't believe the extension is really necessary. The Biden administration appears to believe that it would make it easier. At the end of the day, it's going to be decided by the people in Afghanistan, the national government and the opposition. If they decide it is necessary, fine, I won't say a word. But I don't think it is. I think that it can be done in the time frame that currently exists. I would also hope that the Biden administration understands. Yeah, the withdrawal date, all of these artificial timelines and stuff like that was a bad move. It was a bad deal. The Trump administration shouldn't have done it. Agreed. However, given the current situation in the Middle East, the U.S. has to honor that deal. The U.S. has to honor that deal. It's bad if a deal is made and then the next president comes along and breaks it. It would be worse to continue that tradition. If the opposition or the national government says, no, we have a withdrawal date, we want you out by then, it needs to happen. This needs to be entirely in their hands. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.